July the 12th, 2025. Guys, you're looking at camera videos over the Grand Canyon. This is from the south rim looking north, and this is called the Grand Canyon Conservancy webcam. Now, it's not a moving camera. It updates still shots every 60 seconds. You can see your timestamp in the bottom right. It is 9:25 a.m. now there in northern Arizona. You got a 1,500 acre plus wildfire burning on the north rim is what brought me here. We're also going to look at it on satellite images. Now, it's very hot and dry there. There's a lot of underbrush on the top of the rims, because it's extremely dry. They need some rain, but it's a dry part of the nation. It's also very hot there. They just had to pull a guy out a couple of days ago that died from hiking down in there. If you've ever been there in the summertime, you know that it is very hot. I wouldn't hike it down into that canyon nowhere near summertime. I probably wouldn't do it anyway now. But a few years back, Tina and I were camping over on this side of the rim. Not camping, we were hiking. And we weren't sure how close we were to the canyon or if we were even basically going in the right direction, but we followed an animal trail and wandered up. We saw some rocks and a lot of signs of animals. Different, you have large elk, you have deer, bear, cougars, name it, you've got them there. And so it's a protected area, which it should be. It's a beautiful place. But it can be deadly if you're not careful. So right now we've got, again, a 1,500 acre plus wildfire. You can see the smoke over on the north rim. It's filling up the canyons here. What you're looking at in the center, guys, again, I've seen it before, but I think this is what they call the battleship formation right here. And then at 3,000 feet below this rim, this is what they called the Havasupai Gardens. It was formerly known as Indian Gardens. Doesn't look like that big, but it's basically an oasis out in the middle of nowhere. Again, you're looking 3,000 feet down, and what you're looking from is called the Cobb Brothers Observatory, and they were the pioneer photographers back in the day of the Grand Canyon, and they built this place. I think it's part of the Park Service now, and they bought a photography studio somewhere else in Arizona and moved all the equipment here. And where they would take a lot of their pictures and the stories, they needed water to develop the film, and so they would have to pack hike that film back out and get it developed. Anyway, again, you can find this. Type in Grand Canyon webcams. Again, this is a still shot that refreshes, and this one is the Grand Canyon Conservancy. Time 9:29 a.m. at the top, right there. 2 hours ahead of us here, Central Time, 3 ahead of the East Coast. Now, this is a National Park Service image right here. It may be very close to that one that we just saw, but a close-up because the canyon coming in from this area looks the same. It's called the Dragon Bravo Fire on the north rim of the Grand Canyon National Park. This picture was taken yesterday. It's increased by tenfold, they're saying, in the latest reports this morning. Just saying this rapidly growing fire near the Grand Canyon has expanded more than 10 times in size over the last 24 hours. What officials have dubbed the White Sage Fire in Jacob Lake, Arizona, roughly 250 miles southwest of Denver, Colorado, has grown from 1,000 acres to nearly 11,000 acres, according to a government website that tracks U.S. fires. It is 0% contained. That's a large fire. They're saying it was ignited by lightning strikes on Thursday, prompting officials to evacuate the north rim of the Grand Canyon National Park, according to the National Park Services. On Friday, officials said in a post on X that roughly 500 visitors were evacuated from the area and that park employees and residents had remained in shelters. The wildfire has prompted officials to evacuate the north rim and the south rim of the Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park, which remains closed to the public. Now, over on that south rim is like the main welcoming station where the buses come in with the big tourists and all. And it's kind of a cool place, but like I said, we I kind of accidentally stumbled up on a place that it didn't look like humans had put their feet there in hundreds of years. If I can find that video, guys, I will get it up. And it's just a short one of kind of following this trail through the brush and the trees there in the Arizona, that section of Arizona, and walking out over the rim of this thing. And it was amazing images. Now, that's the White Sage fire, but on the nearby Dragon Bravo fire has grown to 1,500 acres on the north rim of the Grand Canyon National Park, said again on Friday. High temperatures, low humidity, gusty winds, and very dry vegetation across the region. This has created this risk for the wildfires to occur. The National Park Service said in a statement on Friday that hiking in the Grand Canyon was not advised as the fires raged on and affect the park's air quality. And guys, you saw the smoke getting down into the valley from the webcam there. But without the smoke, when we were there, we saw people that were, after hours and hours, kind of coming up out of the hiking paths that were very far down below us and getting close to the rim, and they were wiped out. I'm talking about, they felt like they were lucky to be alive. They looked like it too. Laid out under trees and things like that. You just got to plan this type of, if you're going to do that, do it in the cool times of the year. But it is a beautiful place to go. One thing I've never done is to float through the river there, and I think that would be an amazing rafting journey in itself. I love that kind of thing, but well, at least I got to go over there and take a look at it and see it as it is. And again, you can't comprehend the size of it, because every time you turn around, you're seeing a different view, and every time you go around a different curve, a whole new world opens up. Let's take a look at the satellite images. Guys, and you can see both fires from right here. This is the Grand Canyon. Notice this, as the sunlight hits it a certain way, you can see it coming through. This is Flagstaff's down in here, and you got Sedona and all. But right there on the north rim, and you can see it expanding, and like it hits a much denser area as far as dry brush and vegetation, things like that. And then this must be the other fire here. But this one, I'm not sure what they're going to do. Of course, there's not a lot of water in there. You do have some reservoirs and things like that. If they'll come in there and dump water. You guys in that area, let us know what you have seen in there. And there's just not a lot of information coming out right now. But you do have the evac orders, north rim, sections of the south rim. And so if you're planning on doing it, there, like I said, if you come into the south side, that's kind of the tourist intro to the park. They have a very nice hotel, real large motel-hotel deal that's affordable, and just enjoy yourself in there in the cool weather. Don't go try to get into that canyon, especially with the smoke going on. Guys, this is the Arizona weather outlook for today as far as the temperatures, south rim of the Grand Canyon, 91 degrees. The Window Rock, 93 degrees up in Camp Verde, guys. Have you ever come off the Mogollon Rim coming from Payson to Camp Verde on the way to, say, Sedona or Oak Creek? It's amazing views. They're beautiful, guys. Anyway, again, of course, down in the cities, it's going to be the hottest. But again, Camp Verde, even though it's a higher elevation, is still at 105. They're saying west to northwest winds, 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting to 25 miles an hour. This is coming out of the Flagstaff, Arizona section of the National Weather Service. And you got extreme heat warnings, and of all places, right here in Arizona at the the Grand Canyon Village, right there. Now, here's Payson, Phoenix in this area, Prescott, beautiful places, Kingsman, like Havasu City. But the heat there is going to be very hard to deal with, guys. So if you're camping or you're in one of the parks there that's not been evacuated, stay close to water or stay in your room if you have air conditioning. Just a good day not to be out and trying to breathe this mess. And just backing out, looking at the nation, guys, Texas, you have a tremendous part of your state under flood watches right now. See that? This is extreme heat watch in this area, flash flood warnings. Again, the small purple area right here is the Grand Canyon and the extreme heat warning. Severe thunderstorms northeast, and you've got heat advisories up through the mountains of California, Utah, and up towards the Canadian border here. Bad air quality in the gray sections here, but we'll just have to wait and see how it works out with the moisture, the humidity, and the heat of the day building right now as far as storms. Now, if we back out and look at the entire nation, you can see a good bit of forest fire smoke or wildfire smoke coming in out of Canada right there. See that, guys? And that's just going to continue all summer. We've had a couple of bad bouts with it already. The more moisture that can get up into that area, the better off we are. But you can see the high clouds starting to build on you guys there in Texas coming out of New Mexico. And guys, if you saw over in California the big ice raid, it was like the largest marijuana growing, it looked like greenhouses. I think maybe in the U.S., if not in the world. They were huge. And there was a lot of rock throwing, windows busted out, things like that of the ice vans. And one guy they're looking for, they hadn't found him as of yet this morning, $50,000 reward, by the way, for shooting at them with a pistol. It's filmed from the helicopter images that were flying over. I don't know if it's KTLA. One of those helicopters were above there. Trump saw that and he said, I never want to see another rock thrown at one of my police officers or my ICE agents or Homeland Security, the way they were busting the windows out there, and we've seen it before. He told ICE to start defending themselves the way that they defend the citizens. So that may be a big game changer on how this is handled. They found about 8 kids working there, undocumented. Most of the people there were undocumented. And there may be charges against this group, Glass something, I can't remember the name of it. But they, for hiring these kids with no documentation and no one there really to sign for them, you know, no one taking care of them. So that went down pretty rough. And one guy, the Democrats tried to blame on ICE, died, one of the immigrants. But it had nothing to do with ICE except their presence. When they saw them pulled in, from reading the report, he tried to climb up on top of one of those 30-foot tall buildings there, that the greenhouses are in, and failed, broke his neck, and a lot of wounding, didn't make it. But he wasn't beaten by ICE or anything like that. He was trying to get away, and that happened. But again, Trump has kind of ordered a new position about not just coming in, get the people out, and you get out of there and risk your life and haul butt and try to get them out. No, he doesn't want to see that anymore. So imagine there's going to be a little more stopping and arrest than what we've been seeing as far as simply trying to drive away from the incident. Let's switch this over to infrared just a moment. Again, you can see the storm starting to build here, coming out of New Mexico into West Texas. And we need it bad up in this area, don't we, guys? And the storms moving further north. Yesterday, as these storms started to form, guys, I issued a tornado watch. And then throughout the evening, where there was probably 4 or 5 tornadoes that radar indicated, I'm not sure if they hit the ground or not. Some of you guys up in the Indiana, Iowa area, let us know about that. Now, guys, this is the sun. This is today, and space weather does control every bit of the weather that we have on our planet. This is a coronal opening, or a coronal hole that you see now. Our solar wind is elevated about 450 kilometers per second. It should start to increase. Now they're predicting a G1 magnetic storm starting possibly today because of this. Now it's not like you've got proton blast and you got a lot of plasma energy. Then you have light blast, and there's a difference between the proton and the photon blast. Proton blast, like a CME, or this opening in the magnetic canopy of the sun, which is allowing us to get bombarded directly broad facing right now, it takes it a couple of days to get here because it's not traveling at the speed of light. Now, if it's a fast blast from a flare, you got 8.2 minutes, which is the same time that the plasma tubes that connect the Earth and the Sun, that at 8.2 minutes, that tremendous amount of energy is transferred from the Sun to our planet. It's again, you'll have to look at the Earth-Sun connectivity points, do a little study on that. It's very interesting. You can also see a large filament right there and several on here. There's some sunspots there. A couple of them are growing. Let's take a look at that. Now, none of these are as large as what we have seen here in the last couple months, but 4136, which is, right here is magnetically configured for strong flares, and it is growing. 4135 is the closest one that's Earth facing. 4140 is here. Just getting some M-class flares like that, nothing up in the X-class range, but they are starting to pick up. And the sun's been very quiet for almost a month now. It goes through these cycles. I don't know if we're going to see it start to re-energize, but in the summertime, the quieter it is, the better it is, because, again, when you start getting that much radiation pouring in from a coronal hole like this, and you have openings in your shields, then it just increases the heat and the misery and the forest fires and everything else. And here's the sun today, guys, and here's that filament I was talking about right there. You can see the sunspots scattered across both the upper or the northern hemisphere of the sun and the southern hemisphere. This one's the closest to where we're at. We're not at the ecliptic. The Earth is slightly below it. If you look on that ecliptic plane, we're slightly below the equator of the sun, which makes anything in this area, as everything turns to the right, a little more geo-effective. Now, CERN is up and running hot and very strong, probably at its record now since it's been created. Beam 1 in the left, beam 2 here again. They're adjusting windage and elevation magnetically inside these huge machines and trying to make everything collide. More collisions they get, the higher power that they reach. And we've seen it for so many years in the past that when they start running at high power above 6.5 tera-electron volts per beam, that the shields of our planet just pull down and just almost collapse in certain sections. But in our Father's perfect balance of our magnetic shields of the Earth, it doesn't have to be that strong. It just has to be in balance with the rest of the solar system. Well, again, in that perfection, it is still 100,000 times weaker than CERN's. In other words, CERN's magnetic field that it generates is 100,000 times stronger than the Earth's magnetic field. And it's tied into all of that because of the ground currents that we've talked about. Look up Peterman currents, things like that, PEDER. And it's all tied to the ground current, and that's why it was built on the Franco-Swiss border, where it is now, to take advantage of those ground currents. But when you're tied into that system, and those ground currents are generated by our shields, there's a feedback, and it collapses our shields. More radiation pours in. And I've said this before, I don't know if that was just an unintended side effect that CERN didn't realize, but they sure took down a lot of the instruments that we use to measure that. And looking at the energy scale, guys, they're right here, approaching 7,000 giga-electron volts per side. The record was 13.5 total last year and the year before, but right now we're dealing with much more than that. Again, 6799 times 2, and that gives you your tera-electron voltage. Now, it says 7,000 here, but that's in GeV, giga-electron volts. But most of the reports will tell you in TeV, or tera-electron volts. And they, right here at it, when your red and blue are running hot together, the black line indicates the sum of the power of both of those. They're also, in this section, reaching very close to peak luminosity. See that? And this is all live. You're looking at it. The timestamp is changing here in real time. That is Universal Time. Again, Franco-Swiss border. But guys, there's a lot going on. So just keep an eye on everything for updates, whether it's a live update or just a video. But I'm keeping an eye on as much as I can. So heads up, be safe.